Hey guys, Cliff Gray here with Flat Tops Wilderness Guides and True Hunts. So today's video is really geared towards you guys that are guiding via horseback, or doing your own personal hunts via horseback and you're spending a lot of time in the saddle. I'm going to go over the equipment, kind of the more utility equipment that I have always readily available on my horse with me. And I think this will be just a new angle for all the other hunters that aren't accustomed to hunting via horseback. I think you might get some good ideas of what I carry on my horse. And this is going to apply, like I said, to when I'm guiding, when I'm packing. So when I'm working on elk, when I'm actually guiding hunters around the mountains. And I'll get into a real in-depth look at what I actually carry in the saddlebags. But I think it's kind of an interesting angle because in today's day and age, we're so focused on kind of the high-tech stuff, the lightweight stuff, all of those things, and those are heavily marketed. So I think some of the things here you're going to see are all about utility, okay? And it's not expensive gear, but it's durable and it works, all right? Obviously, because it's not expensive and it's not the new age stuff, it's not going to be the lightest, it's not going to look the coolest, that sort of thing. But it might give you some ideas that you apply to your vehicle-based hunts or whatever, right? Because a lot of the stuff in here you can easily carry in a vehicle, okay? So I hope it gives you guys a good look at that. And then, like I said, for all the guys that guide via horseback or truly doing a lot of hunting on horses, I think it's going to be right on point for you, okay? There's not a lot of information out there on what guys are using within these rigs, okay? So hopefully this is a little niche video for you guys that directly helps you in that regard. So before I break into the saddlebags and show you the nitty-gritty of the equipment I've got here, I'll just show you my overall setup, all right? So on my mountain saddle, I've got a breast collar, front cinch, back cinch, real traditional setup. I've always got a scabbard on my mountain saddles that has a little hoof pick in there, okay? And the main reason for that is that, most of the time the horse comes up with a little gimp. Usually what it is in the Rocky Mountains is it's a rock, right? And ironically, they tend to find rocks that fit perfectly in their shoes, and a lot of times you can't get them out, with your bare hands. So it's just nice to have a hoof pick handy to solve that problem real quickly. So I have that on the outside. I like rubber on my horn. And this probably comes from back when I was a little kid. I did a bunch of team roping. But there is a utility aspect of this, and that's that I can put lead ropes under it and tuck them under there real quick when I'm getting off a horse or whatever, and I don't have to worry about it being hard tied, right? So I use that a fair amount, when I'm up guiding. And then I have a small saddlebag over the back here, and then a set of traditional saddlebags in the back, okay? I use canvas bags here that lay over the side of the horse, and the reason is that they're lighter than leather bags, and in my experience they actually are less likely to rub on horses than leather bags. I'm not saying don't use leather bags. If you want a nice, kind of custom made set of saddlebags, don't worry about it. But I just personally find that the canvas, it may not look as cool, but it just has a little bit better utility for me, okay? And then the other thing I have on my saddle is my mountain saddle, is I have an axe ring, okay? So that's what this is here. So in that axe ring, I can just put an axe right here, a scabbard axe, and it'll safely ride right there, okay, when I'm riding. So that's another thing on the outside of the saddle that I always have set up. And then other things I have is all my rigs have a pigtail on them, okay? So if for some reason I need to, I'm up with just a horse and a mule, a horse and a pack horse or whatever, riding horse and a pack horse or whatever. And for some reason I need to pack something on my riding saddle, I want a pigtail so I can string the horses and mules that I do have with me, okay? So that's on every one of my saddles, including my personal riding saddle. You never know when you're really going to need that, and it's good to have it on there, okay? So that's the overview of the rig. Now I'm going to jump into the saddlebags and show you kind of the details of what I carry. All right, guys, so let's jump right into what I actually have in my saddlebags and what I carry on my horse. All right, so in the kind of traditional side saddlebags, on one side, I've always got wet wipes or toilet paper for obvious reasons, right? And then I always carry a little bit of twine. And what I use twine for is I use it for my breakaways, right, between my mules or between my pack horses. And the reason you do that, and I can do a whole another video on how we set up our strings. All right, so the reason that you have breakaway twine with you is that generally your actual rigging that you're going to put into the saddle to string your horses together to kind of make those pigtails that you're going to put between your mules or pack horses, that's usually going to be pretty thick manila. And the reason it's going to be pretty thick is that, you know, there's a lot of rubbing under the layers of leather on your saddle. So you're going to have something pretty sturdy. But the thing is you don't want to be tying something sturdy like a lead rope to something sturdy in a string of horses or mules. If one falls off the mountain, you want that to break away, right? So that's what this twine is for. I find that just normal baling twine is actually the best. I've tried different variations, you know, low diameter manila, other types of rope, and it's either too strong and it holds on and it becomes dangerous, or it breaks too easy, all right? So baling twine happens to be some of the best stuff, and you can get it online, and or you can just get it from somebody, you know, that's got hay bales or whatever. The small baling twine that you see on round bales and stuff doesn't work. You need to get just normal baling twine that's on, you know, two strand or 3 strand bales of hay. All right, so that's my breakaways. In the other side of my my main saddlebags, I carry just my little first aid kit, and I go over this in another video. You can check it out. I call this like my life or death first aid kit. Okay, so that's in there. It's very lightweight. The other thing I carry is I always carry an extra layer. This is a Filson wool jacket. That would be kind of the layer that I'm carrying as an extra layer later in the season, okay? It's not something I'm going to be carrying in early September or something like that. In early September, I might, instead of having that, I might have just like a small little puffy down jacket as an extra layer in there. And then I keep some gloves in my saddlebags, again, just for warmth. And then I always carry a slicker, right? And I actually put that between the side saddlebags on the horse, and that kind of sits right behind this saddlebag, all right? The other thing that I'll have in those saddlebags is I'll have some form of communication. I've talked about this in other videos. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want that with you. If I can do it like I'm wearing a big jacket, it's later in the season, I'll actually carry this on my person, okay? It's going to be slightly safer to have it on your person instead of in your saddlebag. All right, the other thing that I carry is I carry a horse med kit. And you can work with your veterinarian to see what they think you should carry. Generally, there's 2 medications that I always have with me: Banamine for colic, and then Bute for treating lameness, okay? So those are 2 important medications that I think everybody should have, but they're also both prescriptions, so you're going to have to work with your veterinarian and kind of understand what they think you should be carrying with you on the trail, okay? But that can save you a lot of hassle. So I've got a little horse first aid kit. All right, and then more kind of like my utility stuff, I carry in this pack, right? And the reason is it's actually a lot easier to get to, right? I can reach up on just right behind where I sit on my saddle, and I can get into it, all right? And so let's just go ahead and open this. The first thing that I always have with me on any sort of horse trip, when I'm guiding on horseback packing or whatever, is I always carry a pistol, okay? And the thing about it is if you're going to be using horses in a true wilderness environment, a reality is that you might have to put one down at some point. You know, this could be a long debate about ethics and if it's likely or whatever. What I can say is that if you do this kind of stuff long enough, you're going to run into that situation. Horses are fairly fragile, and people don't quite realize that until they have until there's just some unforeseen circumstance that occurs, right, on a rough trail, or just an accident can occur, okay? They can hurt themselves, and generally it's going to be a leg problem, right? They break a leg or something like that. The most moral thing to do in that situation is to be prepared to put down a horse. In the wilderness, the way to do that is with a pistol, okay? And I suggest to anybody, if you're carrying a pistol for that reason, you need to do a little research and know where to shoot a horse, okay? It's actually very important in terms of shot placement. They have actually a very small brain relative to the size of their head. So you want to make sure you're shooting in the right spot. Okay. All right. So that's just the sight. Hopefully you never have to deal with it, but it is something that you should probably be prepared for. In here, I carry an extra little flashlight. I carry an extra headlamp, and this headlamp has got the battery. It's got one battery turned around, reversed in it, so it doesn't accidentally turn on. All right. I carry a reliable way to start a fire. I've got an ignition source and then tinder. And then I carry a Cutco, all right? And the Cutco is just sharp, and it's a real handy knife for quickly quartering elk, okay? It's not something that I would use on a backpack hunt or something like that. But Cutco's with this double D edge on them. I think that's what it's called. Oh, almost certainly it's a double D. If I'm wrong on that, I apologize. But it's whatever, basically serration that they use. It stays sharp for a long time. It's a big, bulky knife, but for this type of work, when you're going up in the mountains and you're packing and stuff, and you might just have to, jump off and quarter an elk real quick, or you just clean something up, it's a handy knife to have, okay? So I carry that in there, and then the other important tool that I always carry is a Wyoming saw. And, this is nothing new to kind of the old school packing crowd, but a Wyoming saw is basically a foldable saw. Okay, comes in several pieces, packs into this, handy little pouch. It's got a handle, right? And you can put this together, in probably 5-6 minutes. And then I carry a metal blade, and so the reason that is that I have my axe that I showed you earlier for actually clearing trail. I don't use Wyoming saw for clearing trail. What I use it for is if I need to skull plate an animal, okay? Elk and deer, but elk in particular, particularly big bulls, they're a lot easier to pack if they've been skull plated, all right? So what I can do is if I'm in a bind or I don't have a whole lot of time, or I know I'm going to be on a really rough trail, between the Cutco knife and this Wyoming saw, I can face cape an animal and I can skull plate it. So even if the guy wants to keep the cape, I can face cape the animal, and then I can skull plate it, and I can pack the cape and the set of antlers out very safely if I have these tools. If you don't have these tools, generally, you can face cape the animal with whatever you have, a pocket knife, as long as it's sharp. You can have a Havalon or something like that. Those are handy for doing that sort of work. They're actually going to be slightly better than a larger knife like a Cutco. But if all you can do is face cape them, you don't have a saw to skull plate them, it works because you can get the cape separate from the skull, and that way you're not having to pack that skull right down onto the cape. But it's nice is if you can take that, the lower part of that skull off, so you have a flat bone structure to tighten the antlers down on. But if you don't want to carry these two tools, at a minimum carry a sharp pocket knife, a Havalon, something like that, where you can face cape the animal, and then you can lay the cape down on each side of the mule and then put your skull on top. It's very difficult to pack particularly a big bull on top of its own cape, okay? It's really hard to pack bulls out like that without having to adjust them a bunch on the trail, all right? So I hope that gives you guys a quick overview of what I carry when I'm packing and guiding on horseback. I think this will be really helpful to you guys that are planning on doing a bunch of horseback hunting, and then all you guides out there that guide via horses.